Hello again, everybody. Welcome into the 615 Preps podcast. We're back after quite a long hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Chris Brooks along with Scott Burton, and our guest for this episode of Coaches in Q is Kit Hartsfield, the head coach of the Blackman Blaze. Coach, thanks for stopping by with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, this is an edition of Coaches in Q, so naturally we've got some barbecue involved. We're over here at Big Bobby's Barbecue, not very far from the campus of Blackman, so pretty nice little local joint here. Scott, you and I are going to have some barbecue after we're done, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah. That's a great thing about doing the show is I get to do the pre-scouting. I was out here last Saturday, so we're at 2805 Old Fort Parkway
right.
in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Yep.
Excellent barbecue, Detroit style, which I've never heard of, but I will tell you it's definitely delicious.
So he's already had it. I'm going to have my first real taste of it in a little while, and I know Coach is probably going to have some at some point too. So.
Oh, no doubt. You know, they just moved in over here literally 6 days before the pandemic. Everything got shut down, and so they're just getting back rolling.
Well, without further ado, this is Scott Burton's segment, so Scott, take off.
Okay. Well, Coach, Chris brought up the COVID-19 precautions and all things like that, so we better off just diving straight into it. What kind of activities are you doing to address that the illness with your kids?
Yeah, it's been a long 3 months, I guess, leading up into this point, and nobody really had any answers. It was kind of like everything just stopped, and almost the entire world felt like shut down, and it was just a wild time, and still is. And we're excited to be back at it. We got several guidelines that we have to follow. We're very grateful to kind of be able to get some things rolling. Our school board's done a great job of easing us back into some normalcy and trying to get back to leading to a season played on time, we hope. And we've got several guidelines, but each kid gets screened, those 5 or 6 questions before they're allowed to enter the facility to be at practice. And they go through that screening. If they have the wrong answer for any of those, they've got to go home. And we've got to maintain the social distancing. That's still an emphasis. And we started the first week of June with groups of 10 or less. So that went well. You have to adjust and be creative with how you do some drills and things like that, just to make sure, we're doing the right thing and being safe and all that stuff. But yeah, that's been good. And then, about midway through this week, we kind of got lifted to 25 in a group, but you still had to maintain the distance. So that helped us some as well. So we're just kind of easing back into it and, sanitizing, when they enter the door, cleaning equipment, literally between usage of kids. So we've tried to limit as much equipment as possible that we even touch. But there's a lot of things you can do football-wise, and the kids now that they would do just about anything just to be back out there playing and be with their brothers and their teammates and just to be active. Has really kind of gave a new appreciation for everything.
Oh, certainly. Well, how did you communicate with your kids when they weren't permitted back into school?
Yeah, it was tough. I have over 100 kids. We have forms of communication through some apps and stuff on cell phones and send out messages and just kind of text with some guys here and there. Just kind of check in, see how they're doing, things like that. Send them some workouts they can do and ideas of things they can do. Everybody has different resources with what they can do. Some have gyms in their garage. One thing that I think was positive for us is our zone is really tight. It's not a very broad area of school zone. It's a highly populated area. So some guys got together on their own in their teammates' garage and, you could really tell it when they got back, the guys who had been working, and it was nice. You know, we don't see them for 3 months, and then you see them again. You see some growth spurts in there that you don't really recognize as it's going on a day-to-day basis, you know, right in front of you. And that was nice to see, you know. It was nice to see, and it probably helped some of them be able to sit at home, some of my skilled guys, and put on some weight.
Oh, it's good.
A lot like myself.
I think we all thought that just a little bit. What has anyone looked to you? You know, your kids or their parents looked to you for assurances or guidance in resuming the activities?
Yeah, you know, with the guidelines had, you know, when they were released, you know, 4 or 5 days before, maybe a week in advance of summer to begin, because that's one thing I thought our county did better than the rest, was they didn't release everything too early and then have to change it right before. They waited till we had the most information we possibly could to make decisions and guidelines and things like that. So, you know, I thought that was great, because I know some other places had released what they were doing in April and things like that. And it's day to day. Nobody seems to really know exactly how this thing's going to turn day in, day out. And it seems like the information and data that's coming out is looking good as far as how it's affecting people and what people it's affecting. So, you know, some parents, you know, asked a few questions. Not an overwhelming amount. I think everybody's kept up with this thing enough, considering there's nothing else on, to be pretty well informed.
Right. So you got to take that also back, and you're dealing with these kids, and you have to concerned about your own family and making sure that you're doing everything, because you're not only are you having responsibility for your team, your kids, your coaching staff, but also for you find that being just a difficult trying to juggle all that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, being a stay-at-home dad for the first time itself was a change. You know, I wasn't in stay-at-home dad shape when this first started, and I had to get adjusted quickly. My daughter stopped taking naps immediately, and I was on a full-day schedule. So, you know, she's 3, and
wow.
obviously had to, you know, at first when people didn't know a lot, was you know, extremely careful. And my wife is 8 months pregnant as well. So,
wow.
You know, I still don't know who's everybody that's high risk and who's not. But just kind of being common sense.
Sure.
You know, my family's not really living in the fear world. We're just being cautious and using common sense and, you know, trying to live life and enjoy the extra time we've had together. It's probably a time we'll never have again. As a coach's life, at least. Right.
And it's an unfortunate thing, but you seem to find kind of the silver lining between around that particular cloud.
Yeah, you know, it'd have been easy to complain and gripe and about having to be at home and being bored and nothing to do. But, you know, I certainly got more time with my family than in 3 months than I have in the past 10 years, it feels like, probably.
Wow.
And being with my daughter every day is just something that, you know, it's been a time I would have never gotten. So just making the most of the situation. Certainly wish that none of this had happened. You know, a lot of people was effective in a negative way. It's just like I tell my kids, how you respond to it, and try to be the light and respond in a positive way.
Well, we'll move on from that. Let's talk a little bit about your background. You played at Riverdale, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Played under Gary Rankin.
Yeah, you know, I'm originally from Lawrence County. My sister was coaching basketball at Riverdale straight out of college, and me and my mom moved to Murfreesboro going into my junior year of high school. So played for Coach Rankin, moved up here. You know, I was a quarterback and a safety at Lawrence County, and I knew I wasn't going to play college quarterback. You know, when I moved to Riverdale, I was immediately a fullback and a linebacker. And first day, you know, Rankin was showing me how to get in a 3-point stance. You know, and I just so many memories from those times, and just unbelievable athletes those teams had. You know, I went from the best player to one of the worst starters no question. And I still moved on to play college. That tells you how much talent was on those teams.
Well, I was going to say, I think you're slow playing yourself just a little bit. I mean, I looked at the number of tackles that you had in co-MVP, and I think that's what they, at least on my research, and you racked up quite a bit of tackles there.
Yeah. 2004 was my first year playing the position, and that was, arguably one of the most talented teams in the state ever. The Riverdale alumni. In all this, a lot of groups have created ways to communicate with each other that we used to play with and things, and on social media, and a lot of good arguments on which Riverdale team was the best from 94 to 97, 2001, 2004, and 04. Being my first year and starting after a few games, that there was no question it was the worst player on the field in a Riverdale jersey. Now, them stats you rattled off from senior year when I figured it out a little bit.
Now you face off against Riverdale, every year.
Yeah, I faced the first time I was at Riverdale, I was coaching at Oakland, and I think it was a jamboree game. I'm not sure. It may not have been, but it was very weird the first time walking over and hearing their band play, and I've got on an Oakland shirt, and I'm trying to stop from doing the tomahawk chop, all at the same time and beat them. You
ever find yourself, am I on the right sideline?
So, it's been, I've been coaching 10 years now, so I've been out of high school a lot longer than I want to think. So I'm pretty used to it now, but definitely a lot of great memories and great people in that organization.
You talk about the area and the talent that Riverdale had. Rutherford County itself just has an amazing amount of talent. What is it about Rutherford County? What's so special about this area that makes football so good?
Yeah, Nashville is a place, a destination now from across the country, and being right outside of Nashville, athletic families, we're on the internet researching, looking up great athletic programs, and they're bringing their kids here in elementary school and middle school for jobs and all those opportunities that this area provides now. And it's such a great place to live. Obviously they build new schools every 3 or 4 years, and the talent is still high, and every school's got some really good players. It's just kind of spreading out slowly, whereas when I was at Riverdale, it was just Riverdale, Oakland, Siegel was just open, and Blackman, I think, was open right before that. So it kind of started to spread out a little bit, but population's growing, and people are moving here, and they move here for athletic purposes a lot of times as well. So I think that's got a lot to do with it.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about your career at Austin Peay. Just briefly, you played linebacker there. Again, just up the road a little bit. How did that come about? I mean, tell me a little bit about that program.
Yeah, I went to Austin Peay because it was one of my 2 offers, and the other one was to play fullback, and they were going to let me play linebacker, so it was a pretty easy decision. Coach McDaniel handled recruiting at Riverdale at that time, and Coach White was my linebacker coach, and credit to a lot of guys that helped me get there. And, it's a great program. They were on their first year back on scholarship in my senior class, so they recruited Middle Tennessee heavily, had a lot of teammates from Ravenwood and Brentwood Academy and Oak Ridge, and people I'd played against in scrimmages or on Friday nights, and that was really neat to, join forces and become teammates with them. And I believe our second year we went 7-4 and got second in the conference. Would have won it, but Rogers Cromartie, a guy who played for TSU and still playing in the NFL, I guess at 33, 34 years old, still going, blocked the extra point in overtime and beat us, and he didn't even dive. He just ran right. I mean, he was so fast. It wasn't even it was very discouraging. And, we were right there, and they had an NFL player at TSU, a first-round pick, and took it right away from us. But met a lot of great people and connections, and it's helped me get to where I am today.
And, it's been a pretty wild time with all the coronavirus stuff. But what did you get out of not having spring practice? What did you have to adapt to not do that?
Yeah, it was it was a place we had never been before, not getting the spring ball, and there's a lot of places that don't get it. So at first it was kind of like a panic, almost like, we're going to be so far behind and this and that. But when you thought about everybody being in the same boat and a lot of other places that don't have spring ball, it kind of made you not feel as bad about it. But, it's very important in the development of athletes, and college coaches have made that very clear when it comes to evaluating players in the South. If you notice Division I rankings and signees and NFL prospects, a lot of them are from the South, and a lot of states in the South have spring ball. And with early signing day and things sped up, that extra development is huge for the kids. Coaches get to come recruit and watch them in person. Now this senior class has been stripped of that. They've been stripped of summer camps, being able to prove themselves. So the college evaluation and the individual development as a player and, competing and toughness, teams are usually pretty physical in the spring because you got a really good chance. You got a good break for recovery if there's a injury. There's always a few, and now it's going to be, you're going to turn it loose in July right before the season and take a chance on losing somebody because we don't always get to plug and play, like some of those colleges get to do. So, it's been definitely an experience, but our kids have handled it well, and I don't think we're way behind, but it's not as much of a panic as I thought I would be in right now.
And your schedule's not lacking for competition, especially when you look at the first two games on the road at Alcoa, at Ravenwood, right out of the gate.
Yeah, spring practice or not, it's not going to be an easy road. We got to be in mid-season form from day one, and we certainly could have used that time. We lost a lot of really good players. Defensively, I think we returned three DBs, one D lineman, and one linebacker. So 4 or 5 guys, and we lost a Mr. Football finalist, a linebacker. I think we returned 3 linemen and our quarterback on offense. So we really needed that time to compete and scrimmage and get some live reps for some guys because there's no tune-up games on our schedule, like you just said. And I think, Alcoa returns a lot of starters coming off another state championship. Ravenwood was just playing in the state championship. They lost a lot, but I've seen their JV and they played some juniors, so I expect them to be right back in the mix. So we gotta get on the ball and get ready, no doubt.
There's been some talk about maybe having some 7-on-7 stuff. Have you heard anything about that?
Not yet. We're just staying as scheduled. We had a couple scheduled for July. We're planning on everything being ready to go after dead period July the 6th. That's what we're hoping. There's been rumors early on that the season may be pushed back and things like that. I don't know what 2 weeks is going to do for the coronavirus, really. I don't know if what a year would do, quite honestly. So I'm not a doctor. I don't have a clue. But we're getting ready for July 6th, and anything scheduled after that, we plan on happening on that day until we're told otherwise.
I know a lot was made about whether or not to have the dead period this year. What did you think about? Were you in favor of not having it or having it? How did you think about that?
Oh, gosh. I was on both sides. From an athletic standpoint, it would definitely make sense to build on what we've done for 3 weeks, just from physical conditioning and lifting weights aspect, because when you take 2 weeks off, you're starting over unless they do stuff on their own and you go back to the lack of resources in that manner. But, we wouldn't have done anything mandatory. I tell our parents, when they're freshmen, the next 4 years, this is when you go on vacation, and that's when I go on vacation too. So, you certainly wouldn't punish anybody for that or ask anybody to cancel their plans and, try to get their money back and all that stuff. But it'd have been nice to make it available. Honestly, when I was asked, I don't even remember what I said, but now that I look at it after getting to actually practice with our kids and see, how tight their legs are after a week or two, and they're going to be in shape by next week, in better shape, not where they would be if we'd not stopped everything, but it's going to be pretty much restarting. It's been different every state. I think our state voted 6-6, and I think Oklahoma voted 14-0 to lift that period. So, I know they're probably concerned about coaches abusing the system and things like that, but, I don't know anybody in Rutherford County that would ask people to cancel vacations and do all that just to come get a few more days of football. So I understand both sides, so I'm not upset.
Offensively, you've got one of the better quarterbacks in the area coming back, and Drew Beam. Talk about his development and what this time is going to be like for him getting ready for senior year.
Yeah, that's definitely one spot that we're comfortable with, having a quarterback back. It makes things a lot easier just from his game experience and playing in big games and, multi-sport athlete pitching in big games. So, he'll be ready for the moment, for that first game, and there'll be some guys that will be thrown to the fire. So having his leadership back and, the kids being able to trust in him and he'll be able to use that and kind of boost some of the other guys' confidence. Physically, he's put on some muscle. He's put on 10 or 15 pounds of muscle. I've seen him throw lately, and I thought he had a live arm last year. Now I think he has a really live arm. And he goes to baseball after football, and then he goes to baseball again and comes to football at 6:15 to lift before practice, and that's just the type of kid that he is. So, he's one that'll be missed when he's gone, just from a human being, character standpoint, and obviously athletically. He gives it everything he's got.
Let's talk a little bit about your program. Can you just tell me a little bit about the culture that you've built at Blackman since you've been there? Yeah,
no doubt. We believe in the brotherhood, playing for one another, eliminating all selfishness from the program. This day and age, I just feel like that's something that has to be emphasized. It's very important to a team's chemistry and success. And, when they trust in their coaches and their teammates more than what they may hear at the dinner table about why they're not doing this or why so-and-so's getting to do this or play ahead of them or whatever. They've really bought into that. It started with last year's senior group really took it to the next level. And it's carried over and helped in moments of adversity when bad things happen. And then that's how you want them to respond and handle the situations, and be able to not turn on each other and just keep fighting. That's the memories you're going to make. You want to win that last game. Only one team gets to, but whenever you give it your all and for each other, you can lay your pillow down at night or lay your head on your pillow at night and go to sleep with no regrets. And the next thing we talk about the most is just competitive nature, being a relentless competitor. I preach that, and I've scheduled that way, and the kids have really bought into that. And when you compete, and iron sharpens iron, and that's kind of the mentality that our kids take to the field every day.
Well, you talked about iron sharpening iron, and you talked a little bit about how tough you like to schedule. What do you think that does for your program? Well, let me back up. When you were had taken those two losses against those two powerhouse teams, Alcoa and such, Ravenwood, yeah, thank you. How did your kids respond, and how did you address that?
Yeah, it was tough because we had Alcoa on the ropes, going into half, and gave up a kick return, and then we came out with two running backs with sprained ankles, and we were running the ball well in the second quarter. they were getting a little bit tired, and Malone got hurt, and Keontae Newsome got hurt, and it kind of changed the game plan a little bit, and they had the momentum at the kick return as well, and they were able to get up 9 points, I believe, late in the fourth. It was a little bit too much to overcome. And that from an injury standpoint, you never know when they're going to get hurt. And going into Ravenwood, we lost 16-13, and they scored on the first play of the game. We were a little shorthanded, but I don't think it's because of the physicality of the Alcoa game. I mean, it was a physical game. I mean, it probably had some wear and tear on our body. Both teams had kids getting carried to the locker room and carried to the bus, and I mean, it was just an unbelievable sight to see.
It was a tremendous game. We actually covered it. I actually covered that game. That was our game of the week. And I was there, and it was an amazing game to watch.
Yeah, but, those losses, that we had to look at each other and see if we really believed in what we talk about and do on a daily basis with our actions. And, we didn't get back on our feet immediately. We played Coffee County right after that, who were more talented then and played well, but we were still not quite recovered from a physical standpoint, and got boat raced by Independence. Probably the fourth or fifth best team on our schedule, but really good still. I think they made it to the second round and lost to Ravenwood, so they were no slouch by any means. But after that game, we just had to get to fall break and try to get healthy and regroup. And the kids believed in one another, and they knew where we could get to. They saw the measuring stick playing Oakland, Riverdale, Alcoa, and Ravenwood the first half of the season. They knew they had the talent to get there and have a chance in those games, and they responded and rebounded, and was able to gut out a tough second round game at Hendersonville, who was much improved over the season. It's always nerve-wracking going to Hendersonville in the playoffs. Just a great program and job they do. Get back to the quarters, which, we hadn't been to the quarterfinals since the Z-Plan, and with Master Teague, so I liked that playoff system, not speaking just from a competitive standpoint, just playing different people and things like that. I think Oakland and Riverdale had to play in the second round, and that ain't something that any of us are really a fan of. But so it was good, so they believed in one another, and that adversity and that they faced helped get them back to that moment in the third round.
Yeah, when you consider that region and having to go east in the 6A playoffs, it's just a minefield, I guess, when you have Oakland and Riverdale and Hendersonville, and then if you get out of that, there's Maryville.
Oh, no doubt. Whenever you get out of it, there's the beast in the east, and nothing's changed from their standpoint. You hear every year they may drop a little, and George Coral's left, and so far I haven't seen any drop-off whatsoever, and that's not going to change. Coach Hunt does an unbelievable job over there. So, when you play our teams again in the second and third round, anything can happen. And typically if you mix it up a little bit, the better team will usually win. So those rivalry games and repeats are tough because it just creates another edge that whoever lost the first time may have.
Now, you mentioned playing Oakland before fall break. You're at Oakland the week before fall break, but before then you've got the entire month of September at home. How much of that is going to help, after those first 2 weeks?
Is that what I got coming up?
I believe so. It's Coffee County, Independence, Warren County, Riverdale, all at home.
Yeah, I'd say the best thing about it is it's going to be hot, so our concession sales will be pretty good. I like playing at home early because of the heat, because people are thirsty and hungry, and they got to get all their food and water and all that, so our sales are way up at those times.
Probably better for water more than hot chocolate in November.
Yeah, exactly. no doubt. But yeah, so we're at Alcoa on a Saturday. We're at Ravenwood. So yeah, it'll be great to be at home after those two, no doubt, because they're going to be big time battles, and being able to come back to that home field advantage will definitely be good timing.
Well, we talked about the success of your program. Look a little introspectively for you. Given all your success, what makes you the most proud?
I mean, it's an easy question to answer is our kids. You know, when they leave Blackman, I mean, they're going to do great things. I mean, we have kids on our team that are way smarter than I've ever been or ever will be. You know, they're moving on to college, getting degrees, or they're going, you know, getting electrician, technical, any type of jobs like that. They're going out and working and making an impact and making a life for themselves. And, you know, we have a very high percentage that does that. And, you know, we have some super bright kids, very intelligent that, you know, 30 ACT type kids. You know, right now we've got, you know, John Hartmans and guys like that are getting Ivy League offers, and Todd Larks and O'Brien Jacksons. And, you know, their parents have done a great job, and they're well prepared and put together. And, you know, seeing some guys come back and talk to them. And, you know, I've got a former safety that, you know, was on the emergency response team in Cookville during the tornado. And, you know, guys that went about 5 years ago that are about finishing college, but it's taking them 5 or 6 years because they're going to be doctors and, you know, physical therapists. And they're just a lot smarter than I was. They're going to make a lot of money one day, a lot more than me here in another year or so. So just seeing them be successful and kind of get their life going has been a blessing.
Okay, very good. Coach, just let's talk a little bit about high school football in general. What are you seeing as aside from the obvious coronavirus issues, what do you see as the crucial topics right now in high school football?
I would say until the pandemic, it was just the head injuries, you know, the concussions. You know, it's been really popular over past 10 years. Really, it's just picked up steam, and the NFL has done a great job of kind of leading the way to kind of teach things differently. And they started, you know, I believe it's the Heads Up program, and leading that. And, you know, the Titans, Josh Corey does a great job communicating with the high school coaches, you know, and just having a relationship with us, and just giving parents the correct information and accurate information, you know, medically, and that they're being taught properly, and that it's not as bad of a risk as they may think, because, you know, it's easy to read a headline or see a tweet or something that causes a fear that may not be as necessary. And, you know, the coaches are doing a great job across the state, you know, all of our state organizations, from TSSAA safety guidelines, you know, with acclimation periods and things like that. And I believe it's the TNFCA group, you know, has a lot of high school coaches, a member of that get together and kind of lead and help make decisions and communicate with TSSAA and things like that. So heat guidelines and everything. So lots of safety precautions are being taken from the NFL all the way down, because, you know, the sport it's under attack. It's really been under attack for a while now. And, you know, parents just don't trust it when, you know, their baby has to go run into somebody, you know, on a consistent basis. And there's a lot of way more positives that come out of playing a team sport, and specifically football, than not playing, as they move on with their life and how it prepares them. So, you know, I would say that's been the biggest concern, but there's been tons of research and data and things put together to prove otherwise.
Yeah, a lot has changed really since the days of me playing in Georgia when we wore leather helmets back then.
Yeah.
But I mean, it kind of, I think, to what you're saying, I don't think that the game has gotten more dangerous. We're taking more steps, but the kids are also more athletically gifted than, you know, back when I was playing, or even maybe back when you were playing. Yeah,
and you know, it's kind of human nature to position your body in a way that you don't think it's going to be hurt. And Pete Carroll for the Seahawks defensive staff started a series of tackling and led with the hawk tackle, and it's back to the rugby tackle, and that's what we teach now, and that's not what I was taught even in 2004, and it's actually more successful and it's safer, and the main thing is just teaching the proper technique and the practice limits from hours to how much contact you can have now and things like that. It's all the right steps to allow us to keep playing the game. A lot of people don't like it, and the NFL is very, very protective in certain situations and certain positions. But if they didn't make those changes, then it probably could have eventually come to an end. People still joke about being flag football in another 10 years, but I think they've made the right changes to not head anymore down that road.
Yeah. Well, let's transition out of that into our 5 fun question lightning round. And there are no wrong answers here. It's just a little fun thing, at the end. So, first one up, this is a softball question. Other than football, what sport would you most like to coach?
What sport would I most like to coach other than football? I'm pretty active. I've got to say basketball, being from a basketball family and playing high school basketball, and it's in the air conditioning. I mean, you can't beat that. You show up to the gym, you just got to get some chairs out, and everything's ready. No, it's not that simple. Coach Workman at Blackman, he makes it there's a little more to it than that, but I would say basketball, just such a fast-paced game, and you can change a lot of things and have an impact on it.
Spoken like a man who has spent many a day out in the sun.
You can't beat the AC coaching in the AC every day. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Okay. The second question is, in the spirit of sheltering in place, what show or shows would you recommend for binge watching?
Oh my, there's not a show I haven't seen. During the pandemic, I would say adults only. Not that they're that bad, just some language issues for a lot of shows on Netflix. But I liked Ozark. I'm a big animal guy. I liked Tiger King, but it was unbearable at some times. So maybe not a great recommendation. But I don't know what I haven't watched. But as of late, Last Kingdom, Vikings type show, but I think I've seen them all at this point now.
I was beginning to wonder because some people that miss sports so bad are actually watching like the floral shows where they have competitions or the cooking shows where they have competitions. Guilty?
Yeah. No, I haven't watched any cable TV. I watched the news for 2 weeks in March and stopped, and a little bit lately, and news is about the only thing that's on. No sports, but the Michael Jordan thing is 10 episodes, and that was just remarkable for anybody 30 and up would appreciate that. And
right.
I like that for the young kids. I told my team, I sent out some messages to make sure they watched it just to see, because I love LeBron and those guys, and they're good, but they just don't understand the competitive nature from them Bulls teams.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have a favorite football film or book?
Oh, man. Favorite football film, the one that sticks out the most is definitely Remember the Titans. It actually had meaning to it. It wasn't just a football show. But there's been a lot of good football shows. The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler I thought was a good show a long time ago. Now I'll watch it and see how far Hollywood's actually came in such a short time. But, I would say that film's up there. And Urban Meyer's book, that he Above the Line,
mm-hmm.
He put it out after the national championship season in 2014, and a lot of good stuff in that book as far as leadership goes.
What's this doesn't count as a question. It's just a follow-up question for somebody in the know.
I'm not making the rules here, so you go ahead.
What is it? What's something that Hollywood or people in general get wrong about coaching high school that you always see in a football movie, but they don't
Oh
get.
man, yeah.
Just one thing.
Fully understanding that Eric Taylor is probably going to be brought up at this point from Friday Night Lights.
The All-American's the newest one, and I like it a lot. It's got too much drama in it and things, but from the coaching standpoint, there's always a scene about a booster holding the coach against the wall and all that, and it's a little extreme. But I'd say the biggest example, the pregame speeches. Nobody gives that good of pregame speeches all the time. There's no way.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So the last one, and I struggled with this one. We could have gotten a fight over the pineapple on pizza thing, but is a hot dog a sandwich?
No, not a chance. I get a hot dog about every day from lunch from this gas station down the road, and it's killing me. But I go in to just get a snack, and I walk by the hot dog sitting there rolling on the warmer, and there just ain't nothing you can do about it, man. It's tough. It's tough. But no, it's definitely not a sandwich in my opinion.
Go ahead, ask the question you want to.
The pizza one?
Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry. Bonus question. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Never.
Thank you.
Never. It's a pizza. It's you don't put fruit and vegetables on pizza. I don't understand it.
There you go.
Just the other day I had been informed there was a white cheese pizza, and you just got to go with cheese, pepperoni, or meat lovers, and any other way is no longer a pizza.
I'm of the opinion that you don't want to make the Italians mad, and if you start messing with pizza too much.
Oh yeah.
Well, they're going to take it away.
No, you've seen The Godfather, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Good point. Point taken.
Well, that's all the time we've got, Coach. Really appreciate you sitting down with us here at Big Bobby's Barbecue, 2805 Old Fort Parkway, Murfreesboro. I've enjoyed it.
It's been a blast. Thank you, guys. You can just – June feels like Christmas, and it's never really felt like Christmas before, but being back together with the team and getting ready to play football and doing something like this just lets me know we're headed in the right direction.
Well, hopefully when we get to August, we're going to be talking about actual games and not just practice and all sorts of conditions.
It's time.
It is time.
Well, thank you guys for what you do and, promoting the kids and programs, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Join us next time on the 615 Preps podcast. Who knows where we'll be next, but we'll announce it very soon. So be safe, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.